Check 1, 2. Okay. We should be back. Let me make sure you can all see and hear. One moment. All right, we are back. Yes, yes, yes. Come on in. Hold on. Let me make sure. 2. Let me hear. Check 1, 2. All right, let me fix that. All right. Check 1, 2. Check. All right, that's it. That's it right there. Check 1, 2. Check. Turn the processing off. All right, how is this? Y'all can hear me? Check 1, 2. All right, that's better. That is better. 1 second. Sorry about that. You know how it is when we're dropping this, folks. 1 second. 1 second. There we go. There we go. There we go. Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2. Hold tight. Hold tight. Check 1, 2. Check. Check 1, 2. All right. Check 1, 2. Hold on. Check. Check 1, 2. Check. Check 1, 2. Check. All right, I'm gonna have to stick with this. This is good enough. This is good enough. One, two, 1, 2. 1, 2. That's gonna have to be good enough. Check, check. 1, 2. Okay. All right. Y'all can hear me clearly now, right? Y'all can hear me clearly now. We all good. We're all good. Let me bring Lawya back in. I apologize. You know, we hitting on all cylinders. The enemy tries to disrupt everything, but it's all right. We go. We're good now. Yeah, Elder Lawya, you with me? All right. Good. Check 1, 2. All right, I'm good. All right, Elder Lawya, let's get back. Thank you, brothers and sisters. You know when things are hitting. Hey, folks, I should have showed y'all what happened on the back of here. This thing just went blank, but it's all right. We are back because I really want to hear what y'all have to say on this evening. I really want to hear your opinion on this, right? Sky? All right, thank you, Lawya. Hey, think just, but you know, there's enough information in part 1 that can really get our people thinking to how the devil was able to deceive not just our people, but the whole earth, right?
Exactly.
So I wanted to really hone in on not to blame anyone for how we got here. So I went from the early 20th century all the way up into now. And I fear for what's about to happen now that they're about to put our sisters out on Skid Row. The compromised positions our sisters are in right now that they're seeking to cut benefits, now that they're seeking to really just put our sisters out. So the questions I asked were poignant and needed. I'm sitting here right now, and what led me to this to some degree, Elder Lawya, as I'm looking at a sister's face, if I can show this, young sister who came up missing up in New York. And her family warned her not to be with this guy. Come to find out, this guy was in and out of jail, migrant background, and look at all the migrants they let into the country now. So the question is, will we finally get a breakthrough? Will we finally get a breakthrough? And I'm not going to say this is something that I believe that has to get fixed as soon as possible. And I believe that we're at a point where pride is set aside altogether. And I believe that our sisters are going to have to come to the conclusion with, I need a good man whom I'm willing to submit to. What say you?
Yes, sir. I can read a scripture very quickly on that point. I guess to explain whether there will be a turnaround or a change of heart, a change of mind, so on and so forth.
Okay.
This is 2nd Ezra. You can pull it up. 2nd Ezra 16 and 19.
Okay, let me get it here. And see, the way I wanted to pose it now is because I don't want anyone to feel that there's a blame on one side or the other. I just wanted, right. I put this together to show how Esau, using these witches who are a part of his coven, how they were able to play either side, knowing their target demographic were us and our women. The example I shown for those who would see part 1 is how you got one white woman still talking about she don't want this bill SB 1414 on the books because gay people will get incarcerated longer. And we're talking about pedophilia, trafficking children. And then you have another white woman on the other side saying this is wrong. But at the end of the day, they're going to point to the Democrats or their main voting bloc of the Democrats, which so happen to be our sisters, to why these people are in control, tearing things up, selling and trafficking children. At the end of the day, they're going to blame sisters. Why? Because they're going to say gay people are a small percentage of the voting bloc. They can't dictate policy. It must be the majority who's putting these gays in place in others. And they're the problem, and it's going to always lean back on destroying our people. Because if you pull on one of our people, all of us fall. They only have to press real hard on one side. Another thing I wanted to put out there, Elder Lawyer, before I let you do that, just to get a refresher on things. Another reason they wanted to lean towards women, in particular banks, is to keep the country's GDP up. They found out that women are responsible for more than 70% of the buy-in decision of any household, whether they're single or with the partner or married. That women dictate the GDP of any country because they are over the spending. Okay, so they wanted more women in the workforce because they knew more money would go into what? The GDP or spending within any country. And your spending is what keeps the country going. And they'd rather you put it in with nothing to look forward to, put it in for resources for the GDP, than to put it in your family to save where your children would have something long term. I mean, what a diabolical trick there. All right. But let me pull it up for you, Elder Lawyer.
Yes, sir.
Hold on. Chapter and verse.
You can start in 2nd Ezra 16 and verse 18.
2nd Ezra 16, verse 18. Let's get it. 1 second. And again, I apologize, brothers and sisters, for the technical issues. I mean, we were putting it all together, and this thing just went boom, went black. Very weird, but anyway. 1 second. Let's go there real quick. Elder Lawyer, if you will.
Right, and I'm gonna preface this by stating that we understand that this scripture is universal, meaning that there's no gender, there's no race that this scripture will not affect. But because we're talking on this topic, we're going to deal with it from the lens of the topic at hand, which is our sisters and some of the things they're experiencing based on some of their choices. And again, this is not the blame, point fingers, what have you. This is just lending to the topic.
Okay.
All right. 2nd Ezra 16 and 18, it says, the beginning of sorrows and great mournings.
Hold on, Elder Lawyer. Let me set you right here. It's fine.
Salakia.
I'm just trying to set you right because since it went out, everything is, the frames are off for a second. One moment. Yeah. All right. 2nd Ezra 16 and what, Elder Lawyer?
Start at verse 18.
Okay, I'm there.
All right. Again, we know this is universal, but we're just using this for the topic at hand, right? The beginning of sorrows and great mournings, the beginning of famine and great death, the beginning of wars, and the power shall stand in fear, the beginning of evils. What shall I do when these evils shall come? And many of our people, I believe, are asking themselves these questions as we speak. Many of us are experiencing evils. Many of us are experiencing many different things in this earth currently, based on the state of the economy, based on the state of many crises that are taking place in the earth. So many of our sisters may be asking themselves this question, but here's the key, verse 19. Behold, famine and plague, tribulation and anguish. And these are some of the things that, yes, we all are experiencing to some degree. Everyone is going through some form of hardship one way or another, but it is affecting our sisters in a specific way. So the Bible is telling us why these things are taking place, why some of these hardships are taking place. Why is the suffering such as is taking place with our sisters? The Bible says that they are sent as scourges for amendment, meaning what? Some of these things that we're experiencing are based upon some of the decisions that we've made. And the Most High is allowing certain things to happen based on the fact that there needs to be some correction to some of the choices that we have made. That's what amendment means, meaning to correct. So it says that they're sent as scourges for amendment. So now, this answers the question as to whether some of our people will turn around, or are they too proud and will continue in the same vein just to be able to say that they're independent, just to be able to say that they don't need a man, just to be able to continue the same rhetoric and the same propaganda that they were sold without dealing with the reality of things and where things are and where things are going. Verse 20 says, but for all these things, meaning even though you're going through hardships, even though you're being propositioned for a place to live, the Bible says all of these things will happen, but they shall not turn from their wickedness. We understand that in anything, there's always going to be a remnant that is able to hear, receive, turn around, and repent, change their lives, so on and so forth. We understand that. But for the most part, the Bible says that they will not turn from their ways, nor be always mindful of the scourges. They're not going to connect what they're going through to the fact that they've bought into some type of propaganda that told them that they don't need a man, that it is best for them to be independent. What a man needs to do, what he should do if he wants to sit down and speak with me, so on and so forth.
Well,
so because of that, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I wanted to say one thing and bring a different angle to this, which have sisters understand, so that they cannot, all in all, out of all women, the power systematically tricked our sisters for really one specific purpose in these last days. And I want sisters to understand this. They trick you in this, they keep you on the bottom of all women financially and otherwise, because they understood prophetically what would come through you.
Exactly.
So it's not all that it's everything I've done. You can say, I'm a good person, I believe in God, and it gotta be some systematic way to why there's more labor scenarios where when we have children, we end up dying or our children end up dying.
Right.
When it comes to the finances, with all demographic of people, our women, black women, are on the bottom, even though they're in the workforce and highly educated. But the piece that they don't get is the fact that the world would target them because they're the woman who would bring forth the profits.
Exactly.
And that's a piece that no one is looking at as a dynamic. And the only way to heal this is to do contrary to the propaganda, to what they've been selling, because you done went along with everything, and they're trying to end you anyway. You went along with it. You thought you were doing the right thing. If anything, you would think that the government would do things to preserve you when they're trying to kick you out too. So their plan never was to sustain us long term.
Right.
The sisters are bringing forth the world changers. That's why you're being targeted. That's why you're on the bottom. And the Most High is calling back the daughters of Zion and saying, put on your beauty. Submit one time before the end. Become the woman I meant you to be, regardless of the past ills and what happened to you. The Most High knows what's in you. And if his son submitted and gave his life against all odds for the greater good, why can't the daughters of Zion do what my son did? Christ submitted to the Most High with his own life and gave everything for us, regardless of how the world may have thought that that was a level of humiliation. And some of our women don't want to come off as if they need a man. They want to submit to a man because how other people might view them as being powerless. And that's the piece I wanted to put out there. You're not powerless. Your power comes through femininity. It comes through submission. And I wanted to put this out there this way tonight, Elder Lawya, so that sisters can understand that indirectly, when they were targeted coming up, because these were the women who would bring forth the prophets, the teachers. If it wasn't for some woman sacrificing her body and life, where would this truth be right now?
Right. Right.
Who do you think the Most High would find more favor in? The woman who gave birth to Bill Gates, or a woman who gave birth to prophets? And that in of itself, if the sisters really examine it from that angle, Elder Lawya, they'll know that they're the target, no matter how much fluff and flattery this world try to put on our women. You're the target. That's why they want you alone, so they can control you, so they can use you. Anything else, Elder Lawya?
Yes, sir. A few more things. I want to touch on some of the other things you mentioned, but
yeah,
absolutely. Speaking about the targeting and the actual propaganda that was sold to our sisters, there's a reason why they sold that propaganda to our sisters from youth, in their youthful years, in the years of their strength. The Apostle Paul said that when I was a child, I spake as a child. It sounds very good as a young woman, or when you're in youth, when you're in your youthful years, your most strong, vibrant years. It sounds good to say to yourself, I don't need a man, or to buy into the propaganda that says you don't need a man.
Yeah.
It sounds very good as a child, or when you're youthful, in your youthful years, the years of your strength. It sounds very good to say that you are independent, and that for a man even to approach me, he has to pay all of my bills and pay my rent. All of that stuff sounds good in youth. But as the scripture goes on to state, when I became a man, meaning when I became an adult of full age, mind clear, thinking correctly as an adult, it says I put away childish things. And the older you get, the more mature you become, the closer you start to come towards mortality, and understand that none of us are here forever. The more you start to realize how childish and how foolish the rhetoric is, and how foolish the propaganda that was sold to us, how foolish that was.
Yeah.
You start to realize that as you mature, to the point where the scripture says that you would eventually have women saying things such as, the same woman who would say, a man just to approach me has to pay my bills, pay my rent, I'm independent, so on and so forth. That same woman would say, I will buy my own clothes, I will buy my own food. Hey, I'll even provide the place to stay. Just let me be called by your name.
Mm-hmm.
So as women start to get older and they start to realize the foolishness of some of the things that they were sold, they start to come to the realization that, as the Bible says again, a man shall be like fine gold. He shall be like the fine gold of Ophir. You start to realize how precious and how much of a necessity a man is. Just a few more points going back to the some of the earlier articles dealing with the pedophilia situation. So some
Okay.
people may ask,
Go ahead.
is there a connection between pedophilia and the letter community lifestyle? And I think that that article pretty much filled in the blanks to that conversation. There's really no question in regards to that. But I'm just going to speak on it just for the sake of bringing more insight when it comes to that particular topic. People often speak about a school to prison pipeline. They speak about especially inner city schools. They speak about how inner city schools foster and foment an environment that will eventually prepare inner city children to fill the prison population.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think if you're going to talk about a school to prison pipeline, you also have to speak about what I would call the pedophilia to the letter community pipeline. Because what happens is when children are violated at a young age, it opens them up to inordinate affections. And those inordinate affections eventually foment and foster an environment to where those children will eventually start to engage in things that are outside of nature or that are against nature. Hence, children being violated at a young age and eventually dealing in the letter community. Now, we've said this on multiple occasions. We know that in order for life to come into the earth, it takes a man and a woman, a male and a female. Even those who are in the letter community, even those who are proponents for the letter community, came from the union of a male and a female. Okay? But we all know that in that community, because they deal with non-productive activity, non-reproductive, I should say, activity, it is impossible for them to reproduce their own kind. So as the Bible says, raise up a child in the way that they should go, and when they are older, they shall not depart from it. That concept just don't work on the right-hand side. It also works on the left-hand side. So if you have someone who deals in that lifestyle that does not reproduce, it's a necessity for them to have to go and convert people into their community. And what better population for them to convert, or what better time for them to go, or what better population would it be for them to try to go and convert into that lifestyle than those who are young,
Yeah.
those who are impressionable, those who are not able to defend themselves. So again, the scripture says, raise up a child in the way that they should go. What happens when you start dealing with these children at these young, impressionable, vulnerable ages and start introducing to them these inordinate activities? Well, eventually you'll start to have a situation where they start to reproduce more of that particular community. So again, there's no question or any doubt that it's pedophilia that feeds that community. There's no other way they can actually produce or bring more people into that lifestyle.
See, but Lawya, is one thing you said earlier, right? The fact that our sisters, right, they instill the tradition and values, right, in the
Right.
children. And what I'm seeing here is, like I mentioned earlier, I believe our sisters are going to have to take a hard stance. And the hard stance that I'm going to just let you go back, the hard stance is, are they going to be on the side of traditional men and those who believe in God? Or are they going to be on the side of the gay community?
Right.
They're going to have to make a hard choice. You can't have both. Because they're using our women. And they're using, I believe, the nurturing, caring, sympathizing, emotional side of the women to buy into something that's destroying our women. And our women don't believe that they need to take a side. You can't be walking around growing up in school and you running around with a gay guy because he's an accessory. He's more of an accessory. It's like
Mm-hmm.
she has a gay guy friend that's in school. I need to get me one of those. And we're gonna have all in all, people can do what they want to do because at the end of the day, it's their judgment. But I'm talking from a biblical perspective and how our women can survive all of this. No more dual allegiances. You have to be 2 feet in on the man God has made. Okay, a straight man, straight out, and that's it. You got to be 2 feet in on that. And family. And
Right.
another thing you mentioned, they targeted women to give up their more productive, and I would say, not just productive, but the age of their beauty in which they can get most. They trick our women into wasting it.
Right. Right.
They give their best, they give their 20s for themselves and lose what they could have achieved in family by becoming a part of the world or just saying, it's too early for me to settle down, when in ancient days that was unheard of. Women have children at a young age and get on with their families. But go on, Elder Rawchaa. I'm sorry.
Yes, sir. And I think that leads to the next point. I think when it comes to the political side of things, I think the question earlier was, why do our people, especially our sisters, feel that they should, or why are they supporting a party that supports these types of legislations that pretty much opens up children to be violated?
Yeah.
And
Why?
I think, and this is just this is just a, I guess you would say, a percentage. I'm not sure if all understand exactly what they're voting for, but I think when politics and when people come to basically speak to our people and tell them why they should vote for either a particular candidate, a particular party, or what have you, they're not given the full insight of what exactly it is they are voting for or participating in. I think you may have a few thought leaders, a few shills who actually know the ins and outs of what it is
Okay.
they're actually supporting. But I think the majority of our people, when it comes to politics and people coming and speaking to them and telling them what it is you're voting for, why you should vote for them, what you're actually getting out of it, we're not given the full scope of things.
Okay. I can
And I
see that.
think the example I can give, like when our people asked for a king, Samuel went to the Most High and said, listen, the people are asking for a king, so on and so forth. Now, before they committed to the decision, the Most High told Samuel, listen, you have to tell the people every single thing that comes with them having a king. Give them the full scope of what it is they're actually choosing.
Yeah.
Give them the full scope of what it is they're electing. And again, I don't think that happens with our people. When they come to speak to us, it's, well, you ask, well, why should I vote for this candidate? Why should I vote for this party? Well, you should vote for this because your ancestors died for this opportunity. Or you should vote for this because the other guy is racist. You should vote for this because if you vote for the other party, they're going to put in legislation that's going to basically put you back in slavery. If you vote for these people, they're going to take away your right to vote, or they're going to make it harder for you to vote. We're not really given the insight as to why we should truly vote and what it is we're voting for. And then it gets to the point where it's just straight up, listen, just shut up, go to the polls and vote. So because of that, because we're, in many cases, we're uninformed exactly what it is we're voting for, it's these situations that kind of slip by under the radar without us understanding exactly what it was. Like, we actually chose for this, or we basically were the, what would you say? We were the Trojan horse that they used to push the door open or to get into the city. And once they opened up the horse, the letter community came out of the horse, and it was their
Yeah.
legislation.
And they took
that
all we the Trojan horse they used to get inside the vault. But
Exactly.
once the vault is tampered, they come in and it's a letter people that run out with the bags.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
what they sit in their think tanks, I'm glad you brought that out, Elder Lawya. So in their think tanks, they think of how can I deceive the majority of the voting bloc into coming out so that we can pass our legislation.
Exactly.
So they take more time into getting us to vote than letting us know exactly what we're voting for.
Exactly.
And and unfortunate that if you vote emotionally, you're triggered into doing something, not realizing that you're voting for your own demise. And that's been happening with our sisters. And,
right.
For the first time in a long time in history, Elder Lawya, think about civil rights was achieved because we were together, the black man and the black woman, politically.
Right.
And guess what? I've never seen it like this, where black men in America, Judah, and their black women are on two separate sides of politics. This is how far we have been destroyed.
Right.
Where we're on either side, even on the political side of things, brothers are looking at things practical and saying, well, listen, I'm not down with someone selling our children in the bathroom. I'm not down with them telling me something, but doing nothing for us, but doing it for other races of people, immigrants, gay whites, and other people and all these others. We're not with that because why? We're on our last leg before they destroy us all together. We're not going to go in politically to what, because don't forget, men were deceived with this too.
Right.
We were voting Democrat for no reason also, but now the men are like, well, nah, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. It's an unfair game. Everyone else benefit from it except our people. And now we got our sisters on the other side, starch for the Democrats. And if they were to pull back and follow God and get away from all these policies that are destructive, our sisters, that's how much power they have. If they were to stand up and say, I don't care about Kamala, I don't care about none of this, I'm down with God, we are behind our men, period. The whole political system. Then I believe at that time, they will hear from these other groups that they've always backed, Lawya. They'll finally hear what these people truly feel about them and think about them.
Absolutely.
If our sisters were to stand up one time and say, we're behind our men, to Hades with all of this, we're not backing gays, we're not backing somebody because they are women, we're not down with DEI, we're not down with none of this, we're down with God and our men. When our sisters finally say this, I believe they're going to hear from the gays and everything what they've been saying behind their backs the whole time.
Exactly.
But go on.
No, sir, that's it.
515-605-9327. Because it's clear these others, our women and our people have been stomping for, don't care about them. It's clear. It is clear. Because now our sisters are being thrown out after being the backbone.
Yes, sir. Salakia, one precept. You can break it down.
No, go ahead.
The book of Isaiah. All right, Isaiah 32 and 5.
Isaiah 32 and 5. Let's get it.
Yes, sir. You can break it down off the back of what you just mentioned.
All right, 1 second. Isaiah 32, verse 5. Let's see. I have it out of the way.
Yes, sir. I'll read it. Isaiah 32:5. The vile person shall be no more called liberal, nor the churl, meaning the wicked, said to be bountiful.
Mm.
So as you just stated, they call themselves liberals now. They claim they're fighting for your liberties now. They claim they're fighting for your rights now. But when sisters stand up and actually start stating that they stand for the Most High, they stand with their men, you're going to really start to see how vile these people are and all the vile and evil things they've been saying about you behind closed doors.
And it says in the next verse, for the vile person, the liberal, for the vile person will speak villainy, and his heart will work iniquity, which is sin, to practice hypocrisy, and to utter error against the Lord, to make empty the soul of the hungry. They claim they down with helping you through social programs when they're over their social programs to do what? To control you. That if you don't back them, they'll cut off your benefits. And you think that's the Republicans. No, it's these people in control of the purse strings. When you go down to your social programs and all that, you're going to see that a lot of these programs, these social programs, are led by gays. They're the ones.
Right.
They're the ones telling you, if you don't go vote Democrat, Trump is going to cut off your benefits. But when you vote to keep your benefits, you keep them in position. See, a lot of the money will go towards LGBTQ, with you operating in this cycle in fear that you're going to lose your housing and or benefits. See how that works? It says to make empty the soul of the hungry and will cause the drink of the thirsty to fail. They'll always say they're here for you when they're here to destroy you.
Right.
And that's why it says, for the vile person will speak villainy. The vile person shall be no more called liberal. Liberal is in the scriptures.
Right.
They use that as a cover. They're really there to destroy what's left of our people. 515-605-9327. And guess what? It works out either way for the wicked who rules. It works out either way for them because they were seeking to target us anyway. And at the end of it, these nasty old white men who own property can now sleep with our sisters for pennies on the dollar, so that in fear of them getting evicted. So it works out for these nasty old men. Oh, Elder Lawya, they're glad Section 8 is the thing of the past.
Right.
No more Section 8. They're so glad because now you're at the behest of these nasty, vile, destructive men. And this is what they didn't tell you about feminism. The wicked men win anyway. It was never against the powerful men. Feminism was to break us and make it where the rich and powerful can have more access to us by destroying the men in jail and getting access to our women to do what? Bring forth children that would eventually extinct the nation, destroy the name. 515-605-9327. Hold on, Lawya. I'm going to bring you right back. I'm just curious to know. Don't go anywhere, Lawya. I'm just curious to know what the audience have to say real quick. I apologize for the technical issues earlier, but based on what we're going into, I can see why this thing went blank. Because for one time we're speaking about this and giving it context. What is the overall plan against the children of God when separating the black family? 515-605-9327.
Blog Talk Radio. Welcome to Blog Talk Radio. Please hold and you will be able to listen to the show.
(515-605-9327). Let me blow the picture up for Lawya here.
Unmuted.
Okay, hold on, Lawya. Let me get you in. There, that's what I needed right there. All right, Skype. There go Lawya there. Let's talk about it. They said the majority of women will be single and childless by 2030, but what they didn't say is how that number would disproportionately affect our sisters in particular. And when we talking about being married, that means not getting married by any demographic, any other race of men. So marriage, these numbers where it says our sisters will only 25% of them will only be married. That's the numbers now. By the time we get to 3030, that number will be down to about 15%. And that's not getting chose by any man. And that's what they wanted. Okay, they wanted to make it where the sisters who would bring forth the prophets would have no options to do so. 515-605-9327. Thank you, Elder Rawchaa. And again, we'll be in Las Vegas next week. You can send, if you would like to, if you're on the West Coast, send an email. Okay, and we'll meet you in Vegas next week. Okay, Kimberly has a comment. The email is, hold on.
Shalom, Elder.
Shalom. Let me check real quick here. Let me check. Because I want to check to make sure. Let's see. Hold on. All right. If you're interested in seeing us on the West Coast, GOCC West Coast 144@gmail.com. Send an email, and we'll see you next week. Okay, and Shawan, Deacon Shawan will give you all the details if you would like to participate, and we will have a baptism early Friday. Okay. Yes, Kimberly, what say you?
Thank you for tonight's show. Very much informative. But I did want to add to what you were saying about females voting a certain way. I believe that a lot of our sisters are waking up.
Good.
I keep my ears to the street. I believe that a lot of people who, we have to keep in mind that mainstream media, they're full of lies. So they're going to make it appear as if a lot of our sisters this go around are voting for the Democrats, where a lot of people are starting to wake up. You're going to have your typical boule people that, your sorority groups that want to stay in that particular demographic because of the simple fact they normally get paid, they have certain benefits. That's a whole different type of black. That's a whole different type of Judah.
Okay.
And so I just think for a lot of the women, we are starting to wake up, even people who I would have never imagined. And thankfully, I had an opportunity to go down to South Carolina this past weekend, and my aunt turned 104 days old, and we had to funeralize her. But going back and looking at all of the graves and things like that, I had a discussion with my parents, and they were like, well, it's always, they're old school, so they don't get to get their information like we do from technology. It's CNN, it's MSNBC, it's these things that they look at for their news.
Okay.
Not understanding that these are lies. So I really got a chance to tell them, that I have taken myself out of the political arena. I said, but we have to think about what these parties stand for. I said, now you're a pastor. Do you believe in homosexuality? And I already knew he didn't. I said, do you believe in abortion? Do you believe in these things? And he was like, absolutely not. I said, well, see, these are policies. Even though you may claim that the other side is racist, nothing can be more racist than taking out a whole 2 generations of men that were supposed to be my husband and putting them into a cage and locking them up. You know, these were the men that we were supposed to be able to choose from as women. And we did not get that chance because of these crime bills. Yes, these men were going out. I'm a witness. I had a brother to come out, and he was looking for a job. I was taking him to look for a job every day. He was consistent when he got out. Nobody would hire him. And so he had no choice. He had a family to feed. And so he had no choice but to go back out here to the streets because everybody said no to him. Got caught again and got caught up in the federal system.
Oh,
You know, so
sister,
these laws that
hold up, sister. I want to correct one thing though. Okay, 50%. I'm talking about black men of marriageable men, of marriageable age, are childless and homeless and are not in jail. I wanted to put that out there because just like the down low thing, they put out this stuff to put a negative connotation on black men altogether through the media, when really those were the vast minority. So I know it was wrong with what Biden did when it comes to the crime bill and giving longer terms to those who are committing crimes. But just to be real with this, there's enough marriageable men who are not in jail, who aren't criminals, but for some reason, we can't come together. Those men cannot come together with the women. And it has a lot to do with what we were talking about today, right? So I wanted to just straighten that part about. There's enough men, straight men, okay? But media always throw something, just like they want to show sexy red as the image for our sisters when we know that that's really not it. They wanted people to think that the majority of black men were gay or down low, and that there was no choice for women because the majority of men were in jail. Those were lies and tropes. And by having that program in oneself, it would have you walk around with a built-in thought of, okay, this is why I can't find a good man because they are either gay or in jail. Well, no, the good men are out here. They've always been out here. But it's just that these are the undesirables when it comes to what the media have put out there for women to chase. Okay? With all these bucket lists of a man that doesn't exist. I wanted to put that out there though. But there's a lot of good men out here. But what these good men requires, you understand, is obedience, submission. They're not as tolerant. They're not as tolerant as some men are. Okay, they want submission. They want agreeable. You understand, and these are the things I believe can be worked on to bring us together. But go on.
Yes, sir. And I'm gonna just bring this point out. I've said this before to you. Maybe about 6-7 years ago, I was upstairs listening to the broadcast, and you said something that had stuck with me for a very long time. You said, brothers and sisters, you have to stop fornicating.
Yeah.
And when you said that, I knew that all my life, but it was something about how you said it. And that night, I made a decision. I said, I don't know how I'm going to get through this. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to at least try to do it. And it was like the Most High had suppressed those urges and those feelings. I kept staying in the Word, and it was almost like, that's why I said on last week, these Bible studies, they come in handy when you're going through whatever it is you're going through. They come in handy because by me taking time away from it, it's like now Like, where do I go? I don't know how to date. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how to do any of that stuff because I work and I come home and I do community stuff. Work, come home, do community stuff. So I don't really, I've never been the type of woman that chases after or anything like that. I like that Luther Vandross.
Sister, this is what you have. This is what you have to do, though. First of all, you took the first step in what? Repenting and saying that, okay, I'm going to do things different. The mindset has begun. So now what you have to do is not think of the reasons why you can't. Okay, these are built-in barriers. What you have to do while there's no man around is fix everything you can about you, the things you don't like about yourself, inside and out. These are the things that no one has control over but you. Okay, if you got to exercise, if you got to get your body down to a certain weight that you know attract more of what you like. These are the things you have full power over, regardless of what's going on. Even if you have to get up an hour early and fix all the things inside and out. And again, what women have to do in particular, not you and yourself, you have to listen to what men were saying for decades we want. And not attempt to just put on a man what you think he should accept. Find out what men want, listen to them, and be that. You'll win. Okay? Like I can't expect the Most High to be anything other, right? To accept me any other way than what he said he wants. I can't, I was like, Lord, accept me the way I am. No, there's a law. In order for me to accept you, this is what the Most High is saying to man. In order for me to accept you, you have to be what I want. We can't force the Most High to accept us the way we are, or there's no word such as repent. So for what we are required to be for God, women were required to be for man. You have to listen to what men are saying and not take an offense of it if you don't fit or tick all those boxes. And sometimes that's what happens. Women say, I can't be, accept me the way I am. No. Become the best you can be. Listen to what a man is saying and become it. And you'll thank the Most High for it, because these are the things that you needed to work on and fix anyway. Right? You do that and you'll be okay. All right?
All right, Elder.
All right. Okay. Work on the things you can.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, sister. Bless you. All right. Let me put you on hold. We have Sabria has a comment and a question. Shalom.
Shalom, elders.
How you doing, Sabria?
I'm doing great. This was a great lesson. I definitely learned a lot, and it was always very timely. It's always timely. Like, no matter what I'm going through, your lessons is just always exactly what I need.
It's just,
listen. I really appreciate that.
Let me speak in general, right?
Mm-hmm.
One thing that I know, speaking of brothers, black men, Israelites, Judah, is one thing that frustrates us in particular, right? The men that I be hearing, is that when other men tell their women what they want, their women work towards that. And for a long time, men were saying, what women do for each other, men don't want that. Men are simple creatures. You know what I mean? Become modest. All those nails and all these other things hanging, all that. Men don't, they say for years, we don't want that. And now men have began to just say, listen, no one listening to us. We're not chasing. Men aren't chasing anymore because they're not going to listen anyway. So it comes down to our sister submitting and saying, you know what? I don't care about what I'm doing. What I'm doing is for the man that's going to be my husband. Okay? Nick's fitting in with the rest of the crowd. If he don't want this, this is what I'll be. Okay? All right, I'm sorry, Sabria. Go on. I'm listening to you.
That's okay. It's fine.
Cooperation is the
I had
word.
a comment.
I'm sorry, but go ahead. Go ahead.
No problem.
I'm done. Go ahead.
Definitely. So I had a comment. I'm raising. Well, me and my husband were raising a 9-year-old, and I have a 4-year-old.
Yeah.
And my son is 9, and it seems like now that he's getting older, a lot of people are telling me that I'm raising him and putting him in a box because I'm trying to raise him in the Word. We're trying to raise him in the Word. So it's like I feel like a lot of pressure from other, people in my family that's trying to tell me that, he should be into, rapping and the girls and just all that stuff. And like my son, he's a typical 9-year-old. He still likes girls, but I'm like, he's 9. So it's just a lot of pressure.
Okay.
And I just like.
Okay, let me ask you a question. I'm just hypothetical.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just pull everything back. Right?
Yes.
If there was a white woman with a husband and a 9-year-old living on a block between you and your family, and the mother was bringing up that young man in the Bible, what would your family say to that white woman?
They'd be happy about it. It'd be a good thing.
Yeah. So let's stop for one moment. Why is it that they expect a lower expectation from you? So I'm just putting that out there to say, listen, sister, you have to understand the pathology that comes with the destruction that have happened to our people. They don't even realize that what they are trying to push on you is destructive, and what they would actually celebrate if it was another race with the same circumstances. So the same way I just posed this question to you, pose it to them, because they've never even thought, their brains have never even went there, have never even gone there, concerning how ridiculous their viewing things are. You understand? So I would you would celebrate if I was a white woman with a kid in the Bible, 9 years old, you would be bragging amongst the rest of the people on this block. What's wrong with you?
Right. Right. Definitely. I didn't even think about it like that.
But go on.
I appreciate it.
I
appreciate it.
And that's what, sister, that's what it comes down to. Sisters succumbing to the pressures of the world. This is how we got here. You got to take a hard stance. You think you can tell you think you can tell a Karen what to do with their child? And I'm talking about if a white woman was to come to another woman concerning her 9-year-old that she's raising up to be whatever, you think a white woman can't come to a white woman like that? Mind your business. That's what you have to tell them. They'll never, sister, they'll never learn until you put them in their place. Mind your business. Right. He should be a rapper at 9 years old.
Yeah, I appreciate it, and I know that like with the church being so close to home in Atlanta area, I definitely have to congregate with the sisters and the brothers there, because it's not a lot of people around me that have the same concept, the same mindset. So I'm like, I got to get around like-minded people, because sister, no. An environment.
Sister, no.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why they're pressuring you is because that light is shining on their darkness, and they're starting to actually internally view themselves. And they don't want to feel as if they are, in a nutshell, substandard. They don't want to feel like you're showing them out. So it's a shame that this happens in our community, but you would have to have someone who would rather pull you down to where they are so that they can feel better about themselves. So no, sister, it ain't about you being around somewhere else. Put your light on a table so that all can see, so that they need to feel what they're feeling around you. This is how you teach them. This is how you lift them up, by showing them the right way. Don't think, okay, they're bringing me down. No, you bring them up. And if doing what's right makes you feel a certain type of way, deal with it.
Okay.
You're not going to pull me down so that you can feel good about not progressing. And I'm not going to dim my light down because of you. My son is going to be a better man than you think he can be. Whether or not it worked out for your family, that's your business. We're going to show you how it's done with the Bible. You got that, sister?
Yes, I definitely appreciate you. I'm definitely going to apply this.
And I'm going to tell you, we can save some of this younger generation. But you have a lot of people who messed up their young years, sister, that I've seen. And you can only see this demographic, this catty demographic amongst women in general. If they drop the ball growing up, they'll refuse to give the young girls advice, so not to, they refuse to give the young girls advice so that they can have what? So that they can have pity bonding, so that they can have someone to say, well, I'm not the only one who messed up my life. There's others like me. Okay, so that's a scary thing when you know you've made mistakes. And instead of using that wisdom to help other young girls not make it, you help those women decline to where you have fallen to. And that's another thing we're missing in the elder women. Women who's willing to say, you know what, young girl, don't do what I did. Instead of saying, girl, you got all your younger years, do you first, and there's always time for a man later. And it didn't work for her. Okay.
Right. and it's funny because they think that it's funny for me because I always tell people how, I'm married to my best friend, and people try to downplay their marriages. And I'm like, I'm not going to downplay mine for her. I'm going to let you know that this is my best friend. Like I tell my people that's around me that all the time. Like, it's a beautiful thing. Marriage is not boring. Marriage can be fun. It has its days.
Good.
So,
and I'm going to tell you that's one thing. Right. That's one thing that's a woman thing, because I've heard men tell young men all the time, young boy, listen, don't make mistakes I made. Okay, don't do it this way, and they'll hem a young guy up and say, listen, you're going the wrong way. You're going to end up. This is your outcome. They'll show examples. But I'm going to tell you, man, sometimes women see young girls going, girl, go to school and get your education. They'll be men later. And here it is, all the good men who would have retired you by the age of 40, it's done went on with their lives. So we have to stop this thing where you're letting others put pressure on your house. That's no different than the serpent coming in while Adam was gone, saying, well, listen, would you like some fruit? Thank you, sister.
Thank you so much.
All right. Let me place you on hold. Would you like some fruit? Shalom. Yvonne has a comment.
Shalom.
How you doing? Shalom, Yvonne. What you got?
I just wanted to say that, I understand that, we as women, we have to stand, first of all, for the Most High God. And then, with that, we will stand with men. Any woman that's in the Lord, truly rooted in her, that's what she does. And I've always been one like that. I would never, downplay or act like men were irrelevant in my life. And but these men out here, they need to be rooted and grounded in the Lord also. In order for a woman, you saying there's 50% of men out there that are not, that are looking for women or will want to have a woman, But what about really having the Lord in their life? See, I'm not going to
Or
follow after you
sister,
and you doing all kinds.
Sister, let me answer the question, because a woman has a right. A woman does the choosing, right?
The woman does the choosing.
Yeah, the
Mhm.
woman does the choosing. So if a woman chooses
Right.
someone that isn't fit, whose fault is that?
Well, no, but I'm just saying.
No.
You said all these.
I'm going to.
It's her fault, of course.
Sister, listen.
Of course.
I'm going to get to the bottom of it, because the whataboutisms and circles, it have never gotten us a conclusion. So what I'm trying to do is break down each part you say. The bottom line is this, right? And listen to this clearly. Man must submit to who?
The Most High.
Okay. The woman must submit. No. Let's break it down in pieces.
Yes, it tells you in the Word.
It tells
you that in the Word.
You're speaking because you know.
It tells you that in the Word.
Listen. You're speaking because you know where I'm going. But just don't say anything extra.
I don't know where you're going.
Okay. Well, just don't say anything, and let's break down each part. Mm-hmm. A man must submit to who?
He submits to the Most High.
Okay, let's keep it there. A woman must submit to who?
The Most High.
A woman must submit to a man. Okay, and why am I? This is easy to break down, because this is how we get a breakthrough. We look at something that we probably overlooked before in the past. This is how we make a breakthrough, right? So let's go to Corinthians. Okay? This is how we're going to make a breakthrough. Because we're not going to be circular here and say, well, I'm going to be right until a man get right. No. Listen to what I'm saying, though. Listen, because that's where it's going. So I'm nipping it before we get there, because we have to set the proper order first. Let me go to 1 Corinthians. Right? And I'm going to read this. Here's the order according to God. Right? First Corinthians 11:1. Be ye followers of me, even as I also am of Christ. Now I praise you, brethren, that ye remember me in all things, and keep the ordinances as I delivered them to you. But I would have you know that the head of every man is Christ, and the head of the woman is the man, and the head of Christ is God. So let's put it in context. Who is man supposed to submit to? Let's start again.
The man is he submits to Christ.
Who is the woman supposed to submit to?
Well,
you can't even, sister.
The woman is,
and you know what?
They're supposed to submit to each other. No, sister, it says right here.
No, I'm going to put you on hold. I'm going to put you on hold, because you know what? That's a shame. Where even a woman who believes in God would insult her men by not saying publicly, I submit to man. That's the order of God. And the insult is, we can't find this amongst any other demographic or race of people. And if a woman who believes in the Bible is trying to dance around that, what hope do we have for the younger women to understand their true position? And that's my point there. We're not going to allow you to dance around it because there's an order, regardless. It doesn't matter what the actions are. It's not about right or wrong right now. It's about putting the proper order in first and both agreeing with that. And then we can talk about the behaviors, because then it comes down to, if a man is to submit to Christ and the woman is to submit to the man, she can't complain about the man that she got with who wasn't submitting to God. You can't get a man that ain't doing right and then blame him for not doing right. So I'm going to bring you back on again so that we can start it from the beginning and see if you can actually respect the order and say, a woman is supposed to submit to her man. And I'm going to give you an example. There was a king who was doing wrong during the time of David. He was off. His wife knew he was off. And his stubbornness was going to get everyone killed. The wife came back to David and said, my husband is stubborn, but here's the provisions for your men. Here's the provisions for your men. Please spare us. Even though this man was wrong, she submitted to her husband. She didn't disrespect her husband in front of people, and she did everything to save her husband alive, even when he was wrong. And because of her charity and love, that man eventually, the Most High, stopped his heart in the future, and David had a good wife. So there's no conditions to submitting. Okay? If you're going to be with them, you must submit to him. You can't look at his shortcomings later and say, well, this is why I can't submit. Then why did you choose it? So let's not go into some circular thing about men gotta be a certain way for me to submit. Okay? Because you have enough knowledge according to God to know what a man of God looks like. You could have found the man that's on a level for you to submit. You could have done that. So we're not going to deal with the future insults anymore. If we ask you, who is a woman, because you immediately, when I said, who do man submit to? Christ. You didn't bat an eye for that. But when I ask you, well, who should a woman submit to? Now we're going to talk around in circles. I know that it's not intentional. You were programmed to respond like that because we're not supposed to get immediate respect without some level of modifier with it. Everybody else deserves it without a modifier, not us. So that's part of the programming where you know what's right but can't say it. Now, what would have been the right thing to do was still admit what the proper order is, regardless of if a man fulfills that particular or deserve that particular adoration or respect. You still should have said, well, woman is supposed to submit to man, because that began you going on the right track to finding one, a man of the Most High. That would have benefited you to say, Well, a woman is supposed to submit to a man. That doesn't do anything for me. That benefits you. See? Because if you don't submit, you're not going to be able to keep one. See? See how that works? So I'm going to bring you back in. You with me now?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Okay. Okay. Well, hold up. Before you say anything, listen.
Can I speak?
No, because submission starts now, which means I'll speak and we'll set it from where it was. And after we do that, you'll speak. Okay? So let me bring you in. I'm going to try it one more time. And if it doesn't work, you try to cut me off, I'm going to the next call. You there, Yvonne?
I'm here.
Okay. I take it that you have a husband you're submitting to. Yes?
Huh? I don't have a husband.
Okay.
No,
well,
I don't.
let's stop there then. Now, let me start over.
See, but that ain't got nothing to do with nothing, Elder. See, this is you.
Okay, sorry, sister. We gotta fix this. You can't be getting emotionally out of whack. The only thing I'm asking you to do is to admit 1 Corinthians 11th chapter that there's an order. Now you're getting a personal offense against me because I won't let you disrespect the order. We could come to a whole conclusion and start all over if you're willing to allow me to lead it to a peaceful conclusion. Is that possible? The reason why I asked you whether or not you had a husband was if you did have a husband, I would say put him on the phone so that we can discuss in order. I didn't do it to undermine or insult you. That was an honest question. Okay, I didn't want to disrespect him if you did have one based on this conversation. So I hope that helps you not to understand that I wasn't trying to hit you with saying you don't have a husband. I was honestly asking you that so that I didn't cross any boundaries while this discussion was going on. Okay? So, let's go to the next call. I apologize that we couldn't get to the conclusion because you would have really appreciated where I was going. But I'm not going to allow anyone to come on, whether you male or female, and say that the order that the Most High set up, that there's a modifier for man. This is how we break the curse, by correcting that thinking. You're not going to jump over man and get straight to Christ. So I apologize. I didn't mean to offend you, but I hope you listen to this back and understand that in order for us to get to a conclusion, we must agree with God first. Okay? Sabi has a comment. And let me say this. We'll never come to a conclusion if someone is speaking and someone is trying to overtalk them. Okay? This is why we're here. Okay? It's called an order. Okay? I can listen to someone who's dead wrong, but I'll have to listen to them out fully to respond and show them the error of their ways. See? But if I'm listening to answer, then we'll never come to a conclusion. Sister, so I hope you understand that that's why I had to put you on hold, because we're not going to have a shouting match when it comes to a biblical conclusion. Okay? How you doing, Sabi?
Shalom.
Sabi, how are you?
I'm doing fine, thanks. We'll be seeing you in Las Vegas. But
all praises to the Most High.
I just wanted to say, those men out there that find this is not what I was going to comment on, but just a little piece there. Those men, if you find somebody to be your rib, to be your wife, and if she's simple, well, maybe the word modest or natural. Don't take her out of that. Enjoy that. Well, once you change her from being natural, modest, or simple, there's no going back sometimes to living. I know younger men grew up in the city, and they want to change their wife into what they see, in the fashion shows. But that's just on the side. I wanted to comment on the two paradigms that you had spoken. All these political groups have two paradigms, and they can get on one side or the other side, and that's just part of their structure on how they do things. But as followers of Christ, we don't have that choice. We're on a pass or fail situation. If we uphold the position in righteousness, then we just got to stay there and not let anything let us fall away from that.
Okay, we got to round it up because I got a lot of calls. So, I don't mean to cut you, but we got a lot of calls.
Okay, yeah, just we got just two things. We uphold in righteousness or return to God of our fathers. Okay, this news update gives us knowledge of the times and to understand how we fit in as followers of Christ. Men, women, youth, kids, do we march, do we speak, or do we hold our tongues? Thank the Most High for you, Elder Rawchaa, and I know you speak for all the bishops, other elders, deacons, and officers. Thank you.
Well, thank you, sir. I want to make sure we, Sabi, and thank you. Make sure we keep this within, understand if you want to make a statement, just say, I would like to make a statement, okay? If there's a point you like to make, let's make it because we got a lot of calls and I'm almost at 11 o'clock. And there's a few things I want to hear from those who listen to the broadcast, all right? Thank you, Sabi. A great point in respecting a modest woman, right? One thing I wanted to pull out also, because the sister was saying something, and I hope she's listening to this, about what the man must do, right? Ephesians 5:22 says what? Wives, submit yourselves unto your own husbands as unto the Lord. So when I asked her initially, who do a woman submit to? She said Christ. Okay. No. You must submit to your man first, as unto the Lord. 23. For the husband is the head of the wife, even as Christ is the head of the church, and he's the savior of the body. Right? Therefore, the church is subject unto Christ, so let the wives be to their own husbands in everything. And then it goes into, husbands, love your wives, even as Christ loved the church and gave himself for it. So it comes down to who is supposed to submit first. A woman can't be saying, well, these men, when it's your position to submit first. Because you choose whether or not that man is worthy for you to submit to. Hope you understand that. Men that aren't going to be right isn't going to be right. Women that aren't going to be right aren't going to be right. If you are a person who believes in the Bible and know what the requirements are to submit to the man, that's the man you must submit to. We can't talk about the men that you know you wouldn't submit to anyway. Y'all understand that? Or we'll have this circular argument over and over again. We're not going to make people who don't want to be right.
Right.
So the whole thing is there a man that's worthy for me to submit to as a woman? What is he? Therefore, if you don't submit to that type of man, right, and you submit to a man who doesn't deserve it, that's where the trauma comes in at. See? So I just wanted you, sister, and anybody out there, regardless of your past experiences, to first acknowledge the order. Christ doesn't have to submit to me. I must submit to him first. So there's a pecking order. Women can't be waiting for a man to be a certain type of way if you've already submitted to him. Okay? You must submit to the man you're with. That's the proper order. That's what the Most High says. Okay? Now, again, right? It still comes down to being with someone who's worthy. Okay? And why did I bring this out? We were using the example of the single scenarios according to the percentages, what the Bible say, and how eventually these women will be exposed to fatalities, selling their bodies and everything else. So either way, submission is due. It's whether or not we're going to submit to the world who's going to destroy us or submit to God and man. That's the choice women have to make. That sisters have to make for the long term. Either way, you're going to submit. But you'd rather submit to a man who will protect you than to be out there and have to submit to what the world has for you. But either way, the Most High, like Lawya mentioned, that the scourges are come for amendment. The Most High is going to make it where you're going to have to submit to something. And we're free to make a choice while there's still an opportunity to humble ourselves to God and man. There's no getting over man. Okay? There's no leapfrogging man to Christ. It's not going to happen. All right. Vivian has a comment.
Shalom, Elder Rawchaa.
Shalom, how are you? And again,
And Elder
the people in the
Lawya.
comment section, listen. I don't want anyone to make this about that conversation in particular. If anything, that conversation crystallized, it highlighted a lot of what we're talking about. The fact that there must be a breakthrough, and sisters have to realize submission starts with you first. A man don't have to be anything for you to submit. You're supposed to submit because God said so first. Because if you have a caring man, he would respect that submission. He'll nurture that submission. He'll die for that submission. And I think that's the thing. There's a standoff, a Mexican standoff going on where a man is saying he's not budging anymore. So it's upon the women in the world we're about to spiral into to finally break down and say, you know what? I submit. No conversation, no arguing, no making a point. I submit, and I'm not saying anything after that. Or the world is going to eat you alive. Yes, Vivian.
I just have a comment on what Elder Lawya was saying. I was robbed in my youthful years of bossing men, not being submissive. And as I got older, came into your teachings and learning about submission.
When you
and
say,
I just want to comment to other young women.
So when you say you were robbed, what in specific, what do you mean by that? That you were robbed of your younger years?
Robbed of my youthful years of being with a man, having a husband and a family.
But what does that mean?
Children.
Oh, you could have been submissive in the prime of your life and had a family.
Yeah, exactly.
A traditional family to what God said. And you were at that prime where you could have gotten anything on the traditional path.
Yes.
But in turn, you did what? I'm gonna give you the floor.
Basically, you can't tell me what to do. Allowed me because I was supervising, and I think I could sort of run everything. I didn't know how to submit and not say take orders, but be in my place.
Okay.
And I've learned under your teachings that there's an order. When I was younger, I didn't know about no order. Just he liked me, I liked him, and you know what? I'm making this money. You can't tell me what to do. I'm taking care of myself. So I was way out of order.
Okay.
So I had to repent for some.
Okay.
Good men, I ran away.
Okay, good men, you ran away, but getting to where we are now, right? What would you advise?
Right.
What would you advise, sister? Your name again, Vivian. What advice would you give if you could to the 22-year-old Vivian? If you can go back and speak to the 22-year-old you, what advice would you give yourself?
I would be more humble and not be as bossy to the men and submit myself. If he is one of the Most High God and working and trying, even if I made more money than him, he's the man. He's God, then the man, then me.
Well, sister, with that wisdom, you would have a responsibility to the younger daughters of Zion out there to not go down that path, because at the end of it is it's a lonely ending, and this is what no one tells our young women.
Absolutely. That's what I'm finding now. Being in your 60s, I understand now. Not if the Most High see fit for me to be married, I understand now. I will have a different approach.
Good. Praise the Most High.
But our sisters, we have to be accountable.
Okay. All right.
And
well, thank you, sister. Thank you,
the Most
sister.
High said so. And thank you for all that you do.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
You and Lawya.
Thank you. Bless you.
Bless you.
561 area code. PA has a comment.
Shalom, Elder.
Shalom, sir. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm blessed by the Almighty. Your name?
My name is Pa Alu, out in the Florida body.
Oh, yeah. I think I've spoken with you before. What say you?
Yeah, we spoke last week. You caught me mid-chew. But the water for this broadcast, I appreciate it. And I'm going to make a few comments, and obviously, of course, step in at any time if I'm off. But this topic is deep because it goes back to that profound lesson that you had where you were talking about who controls our image, right? And that whole Medea series, as well as the Steve Harvey series, Think Like a Man, created this identity that our women, I feel, have grafted themselves to. But it wasn't just that. It was blended in with a narrative that created this antagonistic stance towards men, this vitriol. So the great thing I'll say nowadays, especially with the women in this truth, is that you can see that women have been...
I'm saying, let me say this because I don't want this to come off at the end of this as an accusatory type of situation. And that's why I preference this from the beginning when you look at both parts. That what they did wasn't just to our women. They did this to all the Western women. But it's just that because of our sisters were the high target, being the ones who would bring forth the teachers who would change the world, that the brunt of all the negative that comes from the feminists and other things have disproportionately affected them above all women in the earth. So it's more so to understand that these actions were not to help them, but to help destroy our sisters. And if they come to that realization, that can begin the road to a hedge, a protection, because now they're going for the death kill. They got the women where they want them without protection, and now the last shoe is going to drop unless our women find a way under the hedge. That was the point of the broadcast. Not to wag fingers and all these others. They're under duress. The nations are coming after them. Okay? And there's no man to protect them because time have made such a great gap between her provider and protector. That was the point of the broadcast. They're going to have to, sisters are going to have to do what they couldn't do since chattel slavery. There was no need to submit because under the old program, the slave masters was using one against the other. And there was no time in history of America where our women had to totally submit. If they did, it was voluntary. They didn't have to. But we're coming into a time now where it's going to get down to whether or not she survived, whether or not she'll live if she doesn't submit. And that's what we're talking about. I had a paper here to show that they're unaliving our women everywhere right now. Immigrants are coming in from other countries, chopping them up, leaving them on the side. So this ain't no thing about wagging fingers. Let me tell you, the system have moved us so apart that now our sisters are open game. They're moving off of the men and they're looking to destroy the women and the children. They don't need to deal with the men anymore. If they get rid of the women, who's going to bring forth the men? So that's why I'm bringing it out, because the numbers are bearing out that the last shoe is about to drop on our women, and there'll be no one there to protect them until they repent. And that's something that a man can't help a woman with. That's an individual choice to submit. That's my point, my brother. All right.
And I guess I should have prefaced this because I'm right there with you 100%. I don't mean for it to come off, wagging the finger at all.
Yeah.
It's just more so sharing what I've seen from my perspective on like how the media has played it out to where we are here.
See,
where
but,
exactly like
but let's
Elder
go.
Lawya
But let's go to solutions. We understand. We had a whole hour program of speaking of the ills of how the deception happened that would move our women away from us. Solution is what we're talking about today. At this point,
yeah.
Solution. What's the solution?
Yeah. I think the solution is being open to vulnerability, which I think is built into accountability, right? It's like if we can admit the things that we fell victim to, right? If we can admit that, okay, yes, as a man, they've shifted our perspective, become more carnal, to our women, and that has a lot to do with the way that the women have been, I guess, trained or groomed to come across. It puts a man in a position where it's like, all right, I don't see you necessarily as a wife because they've made you so, masculine and anti-man that now.
Listen, I'm not. Listen. I'm not going to go to the masculine anti-man. It comes down to this. Men are to a point. Men are to the point where, okay, if I work and build my value to be able to protect and to be able to protect and to provide, it's going to be for something in exchange. It's really that simple, right? Let's not even talk about masculine and all this, because listen, if I'm going to set the standard and take care of things, it's going to come with an exchange, submission and cooperation, and then it's up to the sister to be what she need to be as a helpmeet. It's really quite that simple. It doesn't matter what the past were. We were all something wrong in the past. Okay, so the whole thing is going forward. There's going to it's going back to the old traditional times, and the traditional times were, in order for me to have protection, or a woman to have protection, she had to make sure that her man was strong enough to protect her. So she did all the things to back that. She made sure he was fed. She made sure that certain things was going on to where if somebody come through that door, they would have to go through him first. And now the woman going to have to rewire themselves to realize that that's their real job. Their real job is to submit to her protector. All right? I'm gonna place you on hold, okay? Thank you, my brother.
The water.
All right.
The water.
Sure. Yeah, because it doesn't matter. And brothers, we have to understand that we don't have to deal with that either, because why talk about the people that you'll never be with anyway? So what strong man is going to be talking about a masculine woman? You'll never choose a masculine woman anyway. So let's talk about the people that we're going to actually have to be with to sustain through all of this. Okay? Or it's just casting insults without even realizing it. Crystal has a question.
Shalom, Elder.
Shalom. How you doing, Crystal?
I'm doing okay.
Yeah.
I actually had a few questions, so I'm just going to start with my first one, and then I guess it'll just trickle down to the rest.
Okay. Hold up, sister. So, before you have a question, before you ask your question, right? How old are you?
Yes.
Huh?
33.
33.
33.
Okay. I'm going to ask you some questions real quick. First.
Okay.
And one word answers, right? Who must man submit to?
Christ.
Who must women or a woman, who must a woman submit to?
Man.
Thank you. Was that hard?
No.
And see, as long as our sisters get this, it sets the track back. It sets us back on track towards kingdom.
So that kind of ties into my very first question,
Okay, go on.
because when you say submit to man, are you saying like submit to a man who's a righteous man, or just are you saying men period?
Would you be with an unrighteous man?
No, not anymore. But
So
you know,
now it comes down to it, because now we can throw that whole preference out, because what that gives people an out to say, well, okay, I don't got to submit to him because he ain't right. Well, let's not talk about the people who aren't right, because whose fault is that if we
so
choose?
that kind of
Hold
goes
on,
into
hold
my.
on. Whose fault is that if we choose someone that ain't right? Whose fault is that?
That's your own fault.
Thank you. So listen, if you pick something that ain't right, that's a man that you was able to pick enough to deal with. Submit to him. Okay? Or here's a better thing, and this is how we grow. We begin to make better choices. Right? As long as we
So
listen, as long as we put a modifier in it, that gives us an excuse to stay the way we are. Well, I don't have to become better because he isn't better. So how does that benefit you standing still? So that we can progress, let's not even add people in the conversation that shouldn't be in the conversation. We're talking about people who want to do right. Okay?
So let's just say someone's in a relationship.
Yep.
And like one spouse is in the truth and the other one is not. Is there like a lawful time to release that partner when you two are not agreeing? Like in the walk?
The whole thing is this. The Bible tells tell you what happens if a wife has an unbelieving husband, or a husband have an unbelieving wife. It states that either or are covered by the prayer of the righteous. Now, there are exceptions if this person is someone who's causing you bodily harm and other things like that, where your life is in jeopardy.
Mm-hmm.
You understand that? So the whole deal is who you're with is who you're with. And when I say that, if you're with the person, there as a man, you're with them for a reason. Why are you with them? There must be something good in them, right?
Right.
Okay. These are the things you submit to. If he try to get you to do something illegal or immoral, that's where the line, that's where you hold the line. I can submit to all the things you're saying that's right in the word, but you're not going to have me go and rob a Brinks truck. Okay? It don't roll like that.
Okay, so
all right.
So I have another question, Elder. So
I'm saying, but do you understand that piece first?
Yes, sir.
So submit to what's right in that person, and as long as they're not compromising your morals. Got it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now what's the next part?
So so let's say that is the situation, and there's a couple that is together, and
are you talking about yourself or you're dealing with a hypothetical?
A little bit of both.
No,
just
no.
Let's talk. It pertains to me, but not really.
No, let's talk about you then.
Okay.
No hypotheticals. What's the situation?
Okay. Okay. So if I have multiple men that are in my life, and like none of them are my husband.
Okay, let's stop. Let's stop right there.
Yes.
You mean, what if you're fornicating with multiple men?
No. I'm saying, okay, so I have children, but they have different fathers, and they are not bad men. They are good men. They just are not in the truth. They're just not like
Okay. Let's reel it back.
in the truth. So it's
Let's
like,
reel
can
it
you
back.
submit to?
This is a ball of confusion. So we have to reel it back, right? To find some neutral ground here that we can both where we can start from. Who are you with?
I'm with nobody.
Okay. What you need to do, sister, is have a separate conversation on the outside of this particular broadcast. Okay? I can understand now why you were going to hypotheticals. Because all in all, there's a lot of confusion out there. All in all. And I don't want you to put yourself on Front Street, but what you got to do, the last person that you dealt with your child, if all possible, you need to try to get with that man.
Can you submit to more than one man?
No. Like, for instance, here's an example. You can have a woman, right, who has a husband, right? She submit to her husband, right? Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
But when she come to learn at a church, there's a level of submission that happens with listening to the pastor or the bishop. It's not undermining her husband, it's reinforcing that relationship. Like Paul was writing to the church. You got that?
Yes.
If you don't have a man to submit to, sister, you got to find a hedge. You have to find a husband. Preferably, probably try to get back with the guy who you had your last child with and submit to him. Okay? I need to ask the question. You live separate from everyone else, correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right. No. You can't be submitting to different men you're no longer in relationships with. That's not what it says when it says submit to your husband. There's an order. It's Christ, man, which is in the church, it's husband, right? Then it's you.
Yes.
You got that?
Yes.
It's that simple. All right. But again, are you in a congregation, a church?
Yes.
Okay. It's best to have a conversation with the bishop there to find out what's going on, right? Because to find out the order and how things need to be set. Because right now, you're in a very vulnerable position right now. You need to be led to be protected in what's about to happen. All right, so choices, in a nutshell, there's some choices you're gonna have to make, all right? But speak to the leader there, let them know your circumstance and see what they can do to help, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. Then sometimes what it comes down to, if you're not in a relationship, you're being guided by the bishop, just follow the direction of the bishop or leader in position when it comes to application, following the law, instilling some of the law into your children and all of those things. All right. He can help you with spiritual growth, in your home as a single individual. If there's something going on that he would need to know, then those are private conversations. I can't have that live on a broadcast of thousands of people listening. All right. Candace.
Hello.
How you doing, Candace? Shalom.
I'm well, thank you. And you?
I'm blessed by the best, and his name is Lawya. Talk to me. And
okay.
You notice these conversations like this be going on because why? Here's some of the needed conversations that leads to I would say, directional healing.
Absolutely.
And
Amen.
I
I agree.
know it be striking chords. I know that to some degree it hits us with regret of how we should have done things differently. But these are the conversations that lead to healing. Right? Even when the sister came in and it could seem that it could have been a little combative, that I had to shut it down, it's because of the emotions in it all. What I wanted to do was set in order. And even if it never even if she've never had it happen before, have her answer what God said to do first.
I agree. I understand that. I do.
And by doing that, that was a step in the right direction. All right. I'm sorry we couldn't get there, because it would have ended nice if she would have followed me in this. But that's what submission is. Submission is sometimes, especially if it isn't life or death. Okay.
Right.
Even if it isn't life or death. If it isn't life or death, it's okay to yield and humble yourself to be guided into correction. Okay? And that's what I was trying to do. Because once we set the order, of what God said, we would both have to agree to those parameters in the conversation going forward. But she wasn't allowing that to happen. We have to set the parameters, or we're just pointing fingers at each other. And I'm not going to allow that anymore.
Right.
But go ahead, Candace.
That's my whole thing. Like, with everybody, the whole world already targeting us.
Yeah.
And then us pointing fingers at one another, we're really helping the enemy's agenda.
Exactly.
And my question, let me say this first, because I don't know if it's my calling. I have men, male brothers, my dad even, strangers even. They, what I find is when they realize that they can talk to you without judgment, men have a tendency to come to me and speak frankly with me. And what I'm seeing is that collectively we have heartbreak on both sides. And like I said, when we pointing fingers at each other, we're not helping. So my question is, okay, like for myself personally, I've never been safe to submit. What should have been covering was not a covering at all. So for the people that was,
well, I'm trying to, sister, what I'm trying to do, I don't know if you're speaking in thought as it come to you. I'm trying to really, quantify what you're saying. Like,
okay.
It seems like it's fragmented.
Heartbreak. Okay, for the people that have heartbreak, that is what is like the woman that I think that she was trying to speak, like you said, when she got into her emotions, there's a hurt that we're not addressing. It seems like on both sides. And at what point do we go there? Because without that, if we keep swallowing it, the submission will be on the surface. Does that make sense?
It does make sense, but sister, you have to realize, and I want to make this as simple as possible. How different men and women are from each other, and it's such a difference that we'll never come together trying to understand it that way. Because a man is a man and a woman is a woman, right? So how do we begin the healing that lead to us understanding one another? Well, this is how. Parameters are set according to an order that both sides can agree upon. So it doesn't matter whether or not there was past hurt in all of these others. We agree to follow the parameters according to what God set. Now, you got that?
Somewhat.
Like,
I do. I don't.
let me give you an example. And I'm going to tell you why we go through these circular things like this is because Satan through Esau have injected psychology into seeking how to resolve things. Right? Now, I'm going to give you an example of what I'm saying. The parameters. It doesn't matter what a man or a woman is going through or have gone through. Not to dismiss it because we'll get to it. But can you build a house without a foundation first? The answer is what, sister?
No.
Right? So now, we must start with a foundation. The foundation, again, I'm going to read it. And this has nothing to do with whether or not a man or woman is right or wrong.
Okay.
Right? I'm going to read it. 1 Corinthians 11, verse 3. But I would have you know that the head of every man is Christ, and that the head of the woman is the man, and the head of Christ is God. That's the divine order, correct?
Correct.
That's the foundation. So it doesn't matter if I have past hurt or you have past hurt. If there's a relationship going forward that we are a part of, we are now correcting that hurt by standing on the foundation with each fulfilling their role according to the divine order. You got that? Now,
I absolutely understand that.
So let's start there.
I do.
Let's start there. Because here's an opportunity for me to do what's right by this person according to that order.
Okay.
Right?
And what I'm asking is
now
in the cases where I'm dotting my I's and crossing my T's on the surface, you know what I'm saying? But behind closed doors, that's not the case, because I grew up from the outside looking in. You would think that was what it was, where all manner of atrocities took place. So just submitting, you understand, for man, we did that. And at what point do we address what actually is going on? Is there ever a place for that? That's what I'm saying.
When you say, sister, that's generalities with no substance, because I don't know specifically what you're talking about. Right?
What I'm saying is in situations like where there is actually abuse going on behind closed doors, and
like give me an example. Are you saying abuse sister? Are you talking about abuse that's going on now, or abuse from one's past?
No, it's not now, because I don't have anyone in my life. But
are you saying the abuse from one's past?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I don't have, you know what I'm saying? I'm alone now.
Okay, I'm sorry about that, but that's a different conversation than submitting to a man, right? What you're saying is if you're saying that you are a woman who dealt with some past ills, and those past ills affects whether or not you can submit and operate according to that order, I can understand that. Well, the Most High said
I'm
what?
saying that I see that from both sides. I work the penal system, and I hear those conversations from men as well.
Sister, but this is what I'm saying. We're on a conversation tonight, right? With biblical answers on making that first step towards the kingdom to protect either side by setting a foundation. Are you talking about people who are not in the church?
I'm talking about people that were raised in the church, but by people that
No,
were not
no,
necessarily
listen.
honoring the
No,
church.
when I say the church, I'm talking about what we see here before you today. These are people that you deal
Yeah.
with. These are people you deal with secularly. That you see, whether it be caseworkers or whatever the case is, right? These are generalities
no.
outside of what I'm talking about tonight. Now, listen, if just to round this up, we've all gone through some level of trauma. This is why Christ said, repent. This is why you get baptized, to wash away all that past, so that because there's nothing we can do about changing the past. It won't work. It'll never happen. So we walk in newness of spirit with a divine order, and eventually time, walking in that new creature, heals that. Now, does that mean that you're going to forget that these thoughts won't pop up sometimes? Of course they'll pop up. But if they're haunting you to that degree, you must go back to the people who have harmed you for some level of resolve, to at least let the person know they hurt that they harmed you, and that will begin the healing there. But these are two things running contrary to one another. What you're saying is people get in relationships with trauma, and that trauma transfers to why they can submit or whatever the case is. Well, that's just the world. That's the world. I believe that if we're in Christ and we're working towards becoming better, right?
Right.
Then we talk these things out. We talk these things out. We heal. We get baptized. And sometimes those thoughts come in, and we'll heal and we'll protect each other through this. But it doesn't mean that we should be out of order.
Oh, wow. And I was literally thinking those words, out of order. I was actually thinking, what about the situation where they are out of order? Like,
well, sister,
you understand, like if someone...
This is what it is, though. If you know that you're dealing with something that's traumatic, that you haven't gotten over, what isn't that
I'm not talking about me.
I'm not, sister. I'm talking general. Because I don't know how we can help a person in the world that you're speaking of. All of us been hurt, so I don't understand where the conversation is going. Our whole community is hurt. So I'm trying to figure out what you want from me out of this. You're not speaking of yourself.
Maybe like
you're speaking in generalities.
Young lady, that this is not the time for it. But just maybe like for future, at some point, to bring in those that
sister,
haven't had any resolution.
Sister, listen, everything isn't for everybody. In these churches, we have people who've gone through all types of trauma, but guess what? We must keep their integrity intact. There's certain things that isn't for public consumption. Everything isn't for YouTube. Okay, so of course these things exist, but these are the broadcasts. They're not for people overcoming things privately by airing their sins or their past before the world. This is not. Each person should still hold their integrity intact. Okay, so everything is not for everybody. We speak in general, we teach in general, so that people can, through application, add some of these wisdom tips to their life to stay on the right course. But there's many, you understand? So, but this is not the platform.
I do.
Yeah, but I understand what you're saying.
I do.
All right?
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying is
I hear
we're
a lot
hurt.
of people, right.
We're hurt. But the whole thing is this. Let me speak in generalities, in general, excuse me for that. If someone know they're dealing with something that's going to affect a relationship with another person, now I'm talking about they know they're dealing with something that's traumatic to the degree where if the person knew it, then they would think twice about even being with them. And some people know they're dealing with these things, but hide it. That's wrong. That's unfair.
Yes.
It's best to deal with those things first to have a healthy relationship and not put past trauma on a person who doesn't deserve it. They didn't hurt you.
Absolutely.
So I think that's
Absolutely.
where I think that's an error that people make in knowing they're hiding something that's affecting them. And now that spirit is now.
And some people are just perfect. And some people just perpetrate what they've learned because that's all they know.
Okay. Well, thank you, sister. I'm with you. I understand. Well, thank you. We've had a very constructive conversation. Thank you, sister. But yeah, everything is not for everybody. All right. We can't, there's certain things that's for private teachings to learn, because all of us have went through something. They did a job on our people. But what I was saying tonight, getting things back on track, is that it's time for us to fall under an order. It's time for us. You want to know how to fix a lot of these things? Let's start from the beginning now. Let's start from the beginning. No one can change what happened. Right? No one can change. The Most High set the order with Adam and Eve. Man must submit to the Most High, and woman must submit to man. Doesn't matter what we're going through. Let's not disrespect the order or breach the line. Okay, let's start there, because then what? We can begin to build a bridge of respect. That bridge is the respect according to the order. Okay? Last call for this evening, 612. Thank you, Lawya, for staying some extra hours, but
Sir, no doubt.
I appreciate it. This was a very, I would say, edifying, constructive conversation. And it's a shame because almost it's heartbreaking to see all these stories that the media are intentionally hiding from the public. Okay, the fact that, man, they are, man, let me tell you, I'm talking about all these different nations coming in here. They're targeting our sisters, and they're coming up missing. And it's to a degree, it's at such a level that they don't even, brothers and sisters, give it the media attention it deserves. So I wanted to talk about that because it's time. They've moved off of the men done wised up and moved. Men are moving in silence right now, but they're moving nonetheless. So men are actually moving around the strategic attacks against them. It was one time when we didn't know that these attacks exist. But now we understand the systematic attacks. Men are moving differently. So they know that men are operating with both eyes open, knowing that we're under attack. So now they're moving off of us. And they're coming after the women. 612 area code. And anything we can do to save our sisters, to save our brothers, even if it's one, we save through this. Guess what? It was worth the conversation, even if the conversation took 4 to 5 hours, right? And we thank you all. Elder Lawya, we're going to have to do another lesson on, an updated lesson on the battle between man and woman. I think that's where this is leading. So I'll talk to you about this after the broadcast. 612 area code. 612 area code.
Shalom. Can you hear me?
I'm doing well. How are you? Your name?
My name is Ashley Williams from the Minnesota Body.
Speak to us, Ashley Williams from the Minnesota Body.
Okay, so this is an amazing lesson and it's right on time, but I am one of those women who I'm ready to submit, Elder. I have been ready to submit ever since I was a little girl. I have been called to be a wife, but because I was not in the truth, I made some mistakes in my past.
Okay.
And I have children now, and unfortunately, the father of my 2 older children, he was murdered.
I'm sorry to hear that.
I do have, yeah, it's unfortunate, but the Most High willing, God is good. The Most High, higher, is a marvelous God. So, Elder, for the women like myself who are ready to submit, ready to follow the lead and be under the hedge of protection of that man, that righteous man, knowing that he is the leader of the head of the and the head of the household, what advice do you have for women like me that I'm following the truth, I'm doing everything that I need to do, and it's just like I don't want anyone outside of the truth because I know how important it is to be evenly yoked with that hedge of protection over my home.
Okay, I understand what you're asking, but I think I answered it earlier when another young lady was speaking. What did I say?
Elder, I came in a little late on the call.
Okay, I'm sorry about that then. Well, you probably missed it. I said this. When a man or a woman is without a husband or a wife, that's their opportunity to connect with the Most High. That's why the Bible states, if you are bound, don't seek to be loose. If you are loose, don't seek to be bound, which means the Most High have you alone without a person for a reason. Now, which gives you ample time to fix all the things about yourself that is prohibiting you from actually getting that man who deserves you. So mind, body, and spirit, and there's no reason you can't put full attention to that, right? To get the man who the Most High would have for you. That means when it comes to your mind, you're there now. You're ready to submit. You're not going to be combative, right? But then there's a challenge because you have children. I understand that in certain circumstances, there are men who would accept situations like that. A lot of good men, even in the church.
They're almost grown.
I'm saying, listen, that's fine. What I'm saying is, I'm just letting you know what the hurdles are. The next thing is, even on the outside of that, you have to make sure that you are fit to a degree that will be satisfactory for the man you want. That means even your body. You have time.
Oh, most definitely am.
I'm saying you got time, eat right, take care of your body, exercise, get down to a weight that is desirable.
Elder.
Just listen. Listen.
Okay.
You don't got to tell me about yourself and all. I'm just letting you know. You do all those things, but in the meantime, don't seek to be bound.
Mm-hmm.
Don't seek it. Work on studying, building yourself, and when it happens, believe me, the Most High is going to have the perfect person for you because you're not seeking it. And you're doing everything to put yourself in position for that particular person. So work on yourself, mind, body, and spirit, sister, and don't even think about a man. Don't even think about it. Just study.
It's so hard to when I was made from man to be with. Okay, I understand.
Just to understand, but the Bible says,
yes,
if you're loose, don't seek to be. If you're loose, don't seek to be bound, and vice versa. Why? Because the urgency of seeking that, you'll regret the fact that you made the wrong decision. Because I need to have one, so the first one come, here it is, and then you're gonna look.
No,
I'm just saying.
I haven't.
Listen, sister, you're saying no, but there's a reason why the Bible says, "Don't seek to be bound." Right? Because it'll be you making a decision. Right? Instead of the Holy Spirit.
May I say something?
Sure, go on. You got the last word.
So I understand that very clearly because not to boast on my own behalf, but there are people that, and they're prestigious men
But because we are in different, mindsets of faith, and I hold very close to what the elders of the congregation and my leaders have told me about being evenly yoked and being patient and things of that nature. So I wing out people. So I'm not desperate, whereas though just the first person that comes my way, I'm just going to be like, oh, this is my husband. No, that's not the case, because I'm approached pretty often.
Well, okay. That means you are a part of a congregation, right? In a church?
Yes, sir.
So,
yes, sir.
So there's no men in the church that you go to?
No, no. There's one in particular, but no, there's no men in our church. It's full of women, so there's no opportunity.
Okay,
to even think.
What congregation you are going to in the Gathering of Christ Church where there's no men?
The Minnesota body.
Okay, so the Minnesota body has a lot of women and not too many men there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm glad to know that.
The women, the men that are there, they're married. So
yeah, but what you're saying is
like there's no opportunity to even,
Or what you're saying is the women outnumber the men in Minnesota.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, keep going to church, and we're going to work on our side to help build Minnesota, and we'll see if a man pop up there. But we'll see. All right. Keep doing what you're doing, and I'll work on. We're going to work on getting more men in Minnesota. All right. I mean, I'm not a matchmaker, but let's see what the Most High does. All right.
All praise to the Most High higher.
All right. Bless you, sister. And
bless you.
Hold on. All right. Thank you, sister.
Yes, shalom.
Shalom. All right, 229 had their hand raised forever, so I got to take this call. Last call for this evening. 229.
Last call for this. But we'll see. All right?
Okay, 229. Sorry, 229, but that concludes our broadcast for this evening. And yes, the title preceded itself. Love has waxed cold. Hey, time is running out. Cleave to one another, because why? We are all we have. The children of Israel, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. The enemy is at the door. And the beginning of our protection is what? Mending the breach between man and woman. May the Most High be with you. Stay prayed up, sin not. A new academy begins August 4th. Go to historytimes.org. And you know what you know. Patreon this Friday, and the Most High is calling back the children of Israel. We're the children of Israel in the spirit of Christ. And yes, we are back. This church includes Jews and Gentiles alike. You are invited to be a part of this work throughout the earth. Let's finish together. I'm Elder Rawchaa. Thank you, Elder Lawya, Elder Rawchaa, all the loyal men and women who are in the administrations and who have set up great work under the Gathering of Christ Church throughout the earth. We bless you and we thank you. Signing off, Elder Rawchaa. Good evening.
Shalom.
Thank you, Elder.
Yes, sir.
Ahai is calling back the children of Israel. Good night.
The East is where we're from. The 12 tribes of Israel. In 721 BC, the Assyrian king, he took us down, we fell. With a great escape, we went through the Euphrates. The Lord held the water still. to a land where no mankind dwelt. We went, the 12 tribes of Israel. That's who we be Manasseh, the Cubans, Ephraim from Puerto Rico, Nepali from the Isles of Hawaii. The Lord is calling back Israel. Zebulon from Panama, Gad, the North American Indians, Simeon, the Dominicans, the highest gathering Israel. The Arabs and Africans told us at gunpoint, together our wives and children then sold us.